What has red hair, a red sports jacket, a gun, and maybe a case of mistaken identity? This week we watched Sympathy for the Devil.
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire!
Interesting choice of words.
What is that? What is that? What is it? Oh, no, not the beak! Not the beak! Ah!
Oh my god.
I'm a pixie pear! Okay, let's run.
This is The Unbearable Fate of Massive Talent. I'm Brittany Green.
And I'm Liz Kurtzman.
And, we watched this brand spanking new Nicolas Cage movie.
Brand spanking new. And you too could watch it. It is available for rent on streaming.
And not, like, crazy expensive for a new movie.
No, it was pretty cheap.
Yeah, I don't know what went wrong with this movie that for some reason it's so cheap to just stream and it just came out.
Yeah, it seems like it's not really on any... Like, it wasn't made by a streaming platform, and I don't know if it even went to theaters at all.
Right.
So, I'm not sure what happened with distribution on it, because it had a pretty good marketing...
Yeah, I saw a lot of advertisements for it.
Yeah, I saw the trailer a lot. So I'm not sure what happened there. But, how did you... we're going to do a little spoiler-free at the top, because we encourage you to watch this for yourself. So... You know, we'll talk a little bit about the movie before we get into spoilers. So what did you think of it? Would you recommend it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think so. I would recommend it.
It, at the very least, I think, was exactly what I wanted it to be.
Yes. Yeah.
I do feel like it's one of those movies where a lot of the best parts were in the trailer, but...
Agreed. I will say, I think that this movie has great lighting, great cinematography, and good performances, but I think there's a pacing problem with it, which we can get into. Yeah. But at points it felt slow, and then at times it felt like they were building momentum and then did something to sort of ruin the momentum.
Right. It was a crispy 90 minutes, but it felt longer.
It felt longer. And I think if Nicolas Cage wasn't in it, it would be a little boring at times.
Yeah, but Nicolas Cage was in it.
Yes.
So
Nicolas Cage was it.
Yeah.
He was this movie.
Yeah, because like the Joel Kinnaman character was fine.
Yeah.
Like, he did his job, but, like, that's not the interesting part of the movie. Like,
no.
The whole movie definitely rides on, like, the mysterious guy in the back of the car character.
Yes.
And, you know, well cast.
This
was also, like, exactly... what's that movie called? With Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx. That's the movie that when I saw the trailer... Collateral. When I saw the trailer, I was like, this looks just like Collateral. I'm kind of okay with that, though, because that was an alright movie.
That was a good movie,
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it was, like, it had a lot of the same kind of beats as that one did.
Yeah, I would say the difference is that one is very much a, like, he is just a taxi driver who ends up in the wrong place at the wrong time. Whereas with this one, the whole time, our passenger, which is Nicolas Cage, he seems to
intentionally chose that car to get into.
Yes, and for at least part of the movie, you as the audience are like, oh, he thinks this person is someone, and we don't know if they are.
We don't know who it is or what the backstory of that person is, and like if he is or not.
Yeah. So if you want to watch a fun movie that's got Nicolas Cage in it, giving his all, I would say that this is like a 9 or 10 on the Cage scale.
The caginess is high.
The caginess is high in this film. He is a producer, and they truly let him go.
Yeah, and it was great. It was a great vehicle for that.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason for him not to be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a hard time... Tom Cruise was the crazy one in Collateral, right?
Yes. And Jamie Foxx was the driver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he was more of the, like, cold, sort of emotionless type.
But he still had charisma.
He had charisma. But it was more of, like, cold-blooded killer, cool in any circumstance. Whereas in this one, Nicolas Cage is flies off the handle and is totally unpredictable. And so very different sort of dynamics as well. That one was fun because Tom Cruise is playing against type in that.
Yeah.
And he did a very good job.
And this is very much Nick Cage, like, playing into type.
Yes.
This is very much like, when you think of, like, the thing that I think most people appreciate about Nicolas Cage, or at least what the two of us do, like, this is exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, this is what you want. So yeah, go see it, rent it, call your friends over and watch it. We're gonna go into spoilers territory now.
Yeah, we're gonna let them fly.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I don't know,
What should we talk about?
We're gonna go into spoilers territory. What spoilers?
What spoilers? Okay.
Oh, first thing I want to say, so this is a movie, like we said, just came out this year, technically. Director is, Yuval Adler. I looked him up. I didn't know.
He's done a bunch of stuff, but I don't recognize any of them. He is an Israeli director.
Yes. There was, like, one that I'd heard of, but that was it.
He's in a movie called The Operative that looks like it has Martin Freeman, and,
He's in it or he made it?
He made it.
Oh, okay.
Who is this? Yeah, it looks like Martin Freeman and Diane Kruger.
Mm.
Do you think Diane Kruger introduced the director to Nicolas Cage?
I hope so. That would be great.
We could watch that for free if we liked this movie enough.
Great. Good to know. Yeah, it was also written by Luke Paradise. Never heard of him.
That's a great name.
It's a really good name. It feels like a pseudonym.
It almost certainly is, right? There's no way someone's Christian name is Luke Paradise.
Christian name, Luke Paradise. That is not what the priest called out when they baptized this man. So we talked about the red hair months ago because that was one of our Inside the Cages because he was spotted in the wild with his crazy red hair for this movie. And what I found out is that the red hair was a choice by Nicolas Cage, who just showed up on the set with it.
Oh!
Yeah.
I love that.
Which, honestly...
It worked for the character.
I loved it.
Okay, we talked about this during the movie. Didn't his hair, like, look kind of, like, great?
His hair looked great. It looked very full.
Thick. Like, I was like, I want to run a hand through that hair.
The amount of time... Same.
like for Nicolas
Cage,
and it was
like candy
his hair
apple
like,
red.
It was.
The amount of time that we've spent talking about his hair and trying to figure out is it
real?
Is it real? Is it wigs? Is it a plug? Like, I don't know. I don't think it's not a wig in this movie, certainly, because he was.
We saw him in the wild in like paparazzi pictures and stuff.
My hairdresser said it's a wig, but I don't think it is in this movie.
Maybe it's like one of those ones you glue to your head, you know?
Oh yeah,
like lasts for
like
more than a
toupee
day
that you have for like months.
Like have you seen like the videos and reels and stuff of people getting wigs installed and it looks so good?
It looks incredible.
Like maybe it's something like that.
Or he's got plugs at some point and
I feel like the thing about Nicolas Cage is I feel like his hairline changes.
His hair, that's the part that's confusing.
Which is why it's probably a wig, right?
Which is why I think it would be a wig. But certainly in this film, it doesn't seem like it's a wig. So maybe sometimes it's a wig. I don't know, man. The mystery continues.
The hairline was... He did not have nearly as deep a widow's peak as he normally does.
Yeah. Yeah, which makes me wonder if it was plugs. We'll find out one day, for sure.
We will?
I'll find out. Don't ask questions. What do you think of his jacket?
I loved it.
I loved his jacket.
Everything about the look was perfect.
The look was so good.
He looked really crazy.
He looked...
Like, from the get-go.
Holy shit. When he's in the car and he just stares at him and he... Oh, man.
When he first gets in the car, I was like, wow.
I was trying to explain something to you and I just stopped mid-sentence. It was just staring because it was a wild look. He's really acting all over the place in this film. Like, he's flexing every acting muscle.
Yeah.
Because for most of the movie, he is this, like, unhinged, like, manic sort of character. But then at the end, there's two parts where we get this genuinely sad delivery that was, like, devastating to see.
Yeah, the part when he's telling the story about his wife and daughter.
The rabbits monologue.
The rabbits, yeah, exactly.
Killed me.
I know.
And then the other one when he... So, okay, we'll backtrack a little bit. So, the premise of this movie is we see Joel Kinnaman's character, whose name is David, dropping off his son. David Chamberlain. Dropping off his son because his wife is in labor and he needs to go to the hospital. We find out that we're going to have a baby girl and maybe before his son was born. And that there were complications and she died, so they're both nervous about delivery. And when he gets to the hospital, he's about to get out of the car and Nicolas Cage gets in, points a gun at him, and is like, I need you to take me somewhere. And as it goes on, we find out that Nicolas Cage believes that he is someone from Boston.
Why do you think he gets in the car initially and he carries on this lie for a while that his mother has lung cancer and is dying in another hospital in another city. Why do you think he carries that on for so long?
I think that, so here's the question, because there's a couple things here that I am a little confused about. But that one I think maybe is, at first he's just trying to get him to go peacefully.
Right.
And if he's like, there's someone waiting to kill you at this airport, he's going to struggle a lot more. But at the beginning, if he thinks he can get away, he will continue without trying to kill him.
Yeah.
My question is, because, I guess big spoilers here, the debate for most of the movie is whether or not David is this guy that Nick Cage thinks he is.
But you don't really...
You don't find out.
You don't find out a lot of detail on this guy who he thinks that he is until, probably, 3/4 of the way through the movie.
For sure. He doesn't tell This is part of my problem with the pacing.
Yeah.
Is I think we spend too much time at the beginning in that lie of, you're taking me to see my mom in this other hospital, right? I think we spend too much time with that because he doesn't tell him the beginning of the story, until at least halfway through.
Yeah.
And then doesn't finish the story until 15 minutes before the end of the film. And then we don't have much time to really wonder if he is James Levine.
I guess I agree with that because at the beginning you don't, it's clear, you're just kind of left with I don't know, I was pretty engaged for most of the movie with just I wonder why he's in this car with this guy.
Yes.
That is part of the, and then it kind of changes a little bit as it starts to,
there's sort of two twists, right? Yeah. The first twist is, this isn't random.
The first clue that it might be something more is when he's you look like this guy that I knew in Boston who drank a whole bottle of Glenlivet every night.
I gotta say, when I have in my notes, is he doing an accent?
Yes.
And then, when he said, do you know anyone from Boston? Out loud, I said, oh, he's doing a Boston accent.
Trying.
Which comes and goes.
Oh, yeah.
Mostly goes. He has it more at the beginning, and then it's totally gone by the end of the film.
Every time he's ever tried to do an accent, that's exactly what happens.
Unless it's a southern accent.
The movie that was most consistent with the accents was definitely Raising Arizona.
In Con Air.
And Con Air is pretty consistent.
It's bad, but it's consistent.
Both of those accents are just generic kind of southern, right?
Those are, Other than that, no, he's not an accent man.
No. I'm trying to think of other movies where he tried to do an accent, but I know it's happened for sure, but I can't think of. He's not the only other accent that I'm coming up with is when Michael Caine tried to do the American accent in Weatherman.
Yeah, I feel like he tried to do some old-timey accents, and that was awkward.
So here's a time when I think that accents kind of did work, was Vampire's Kiss would be the other one.
Yes.
And that is an intentional coming and going.
Yes. That one was, because that was supposed to be this guy being pretentious, right?
Yeah.
So that was fine because that was part of the character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the only real two clues that we get that he might not be who he says he is the Boston questions.
And then the part that you, I sort of missed. I was wandering around.
Yeah, you were wandering around my apartment. The part where he puts his shoulder back into socket.
Right.
On the car, and Nicolas Cage is this is not something most blue-collar workers know how to do. But that's really, like, the only clues that we get that he's not who he says he is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the first twist is, Nicolas Cage thinks he's a specific person. And then, I guess the second... Well, there's sort of a mini twist of, like, Nicolas Cage is the bookkeeper in the story.
Can we back up for a second?
Yeah.
I a little bit take issue with the most blue-collar workers don't know how to push their shoulder back into place thing.
Agreed. He works in a warehouse.
He works in a warehouse, and, like, I feel like if you're a person whose shoulder does that all the time, you just do actually know how to do that.
Yeah.
And I feel like a blue-collar worker is much more likely than a white-collar worker.
Than a hitman. How often does a hitman have to pop his shoulder back into place?
I mean, like, hitmen are, like, that's definitely, like, one of those things that, like, not that many people are hitmen.
Yeah.
But I guess, like, the idea is that, like, if you're getting in tussles all the time, then you might know how to do that. But, like, that's, like, the thing about, like a blue-collar dude. I'm like, you're probably throwing your shoulder out all the time.
I've done it. Well, that's partly because I have joint problems, but I've thrown my shoulder out and put it back in. Yeah, so that's sort of the only clues that we get. And then, the question is, okay, so is he... which guy in the story is he supposed to be? Because it takes Nicolas Cage, 20 minutes to tell the story.
Yeah, it is stretched out. Because we definitely got partway through the first part of the story. We didn't know it was only part of the story.
Yes. And then there's the big shoot. So then they're in the diner. That's where he's telling the story. Interrupted to have a shootout. And then they're out in the parking lot and having another shootout. And he's sort of yelling the rest of the story. And... then you sort of thought... we thought that maybe David was supposed to be the bookkeeper in the story. But it turns out that Nicolas Cage is the bookkeeper in the story whose family was killed.
Let's recap the story a little bit.
Okay.
So he's telling the story. In the story, there's a bookkeeper who works for a mob boss. And the bookkeeper realizes that one of the associates of the mob is skimming off the top and, tells the mob boss, and the mob boss has him, call the associate over. They get the associate drunk. They assassinate the associate, right? He's killed. He's telling that story, and you're like, is this guy supposed to be the bookkeeper? Is he the mob boss?
Right.
Is he... before you find out that he's killed, is he the associate that's skimming off the top?
Right, and this is where there's a big break in the story.
Yep, there's a big break here. And you don't, you're kind of the associate gets killed, you're like, is he the bookkeeper? What's going on?
Yeah.
Right? And that's, when the shootout happens.
Yes. And then he picks back up.
There's a shootout. Joel Kinnaman's character, escapes, sort of, and is outside in the yard. And Nicolas Cage's character is throwing Molotov cocktails everywhere.
Which is great.
Just, menacingly finishing the story.
Yeah, and he reveals that the bookkeeper's wife walked in on the assassination.
Becomes a liability.
Becomes addicted to substances and is running her mouth too much. And that's when he reveals...
He got a call.
The bookkeeper.
I'm the bookkeeper.
Yeah.
And I got a call from Jacob Levine. Jacob Levine?
No.
James Levine.
Yep.
And he's a fixer, and you don't want... that's when I knew things were really a problem.
Yes. And this is another break in the story.
Yes.
We have another break in this story, and we're like, okay, so... At this point, he's already called him James, so we're like, I think he's James.
Yeah, he called him James because that was, part of what preceded the shootout in the diner, is him just being like, I'm him, I'm the guy, to try to keep him from, killing innocent people.
Yes.
And that's when he starts calling him James.
So this is the point where there was the second moment that, broke my heart, was when he said, I was the bookkeeper, and he does this, pause before he says that, and it's the first time you see his psycho persona drop, and you see this sort of under the surface where he sort of falters and has difficulty going on, and that was genuinely affecting. That was a really good moment as an actor.
There's honestly, aside from him not being good at accents, this movie was really well acted, I thought.
Yeah, he goes, the bookkeeper's wife, and then he pauses and has difficulty saying, my wife. And then that was damn, Nick. And so this is my other problem with the pacing, though, is that the parking lot scene felt like the climax of the movie.
Yeah.
And then they just get back in the car, drive for a couple minutes.
That was a little bit of a weird continuity problem.
Yes.
Right? Because when they get in the car again, like, there's a lot of fire everywhere and whatever. It's like this big set piece.
Yeah.
And Joel Kinnaman's character has gotten a hold of the cell phone while Nick Cage was off, like, killing other random people in the diner. He, like, actually gets the phone and does call 911 and tells them where they are and everything. And when they're in the parking lot and they get back in the car, you can hear the sirens, which means that they're relatively close.
Yes.
And then it just, like,
and they're both moving to, like, very slowly because they've had the like, shit beaten out of them.
Yeah, they've punched each other a bunch.
And so they're slowly going back to the car, and then it just cuts to the car driving. And we were like, how in the world did they get around the police?
Yeah, like, at the point where you can hear them and everything, I feel like somebody fleeing the scene, like, they're gonna be, like, right on top of them.
Yeah, which they do shortly find them.
They do find them.
But we have this, like, and this is, like, a really great monologue, where he does the rabbit's monologue.
This was probably the best part of the movie.
Yeah, and there's this sort of, like, we've reached this, instead of it being this, like, tense back and forth like it's been the whole movie, this feels almost like, not, like, they're on the same level.
Yeah.
They're just, like, smoking together in the front seat, and there's no longer, like...
Yeah, Joel Kinnaman's like, so what happened to your wife and daughter?
Yeah.
Basically. And that's when we get the whole thing of the rabbits. Mm-hmm. They have rabbits as pets, and he, like,
which he was carrying a rabbit's foot.
Yeah. That's... I'm glad you noticed that, because I did not. But
yeah.
That was nice
he was right, though, in his... It was actually very similar to the, like, Silence of the Lambs sort of speech. Because he's talking about how after James Levine called, he decided he and his family were going to flee. Mm-hmm. And he, like, leaves to get some stuff, and he comes back, and the house is on fire with his family inside. And the worst part was he could hear the screaming of his daughter's rabbits. And, which is, I will tell you, if you've never heard rabbits screaming, horrifying noise. Terrible noise. So I agreed with him on that one. I was like, that would be terrible. And then, police are following them, and, David jerks the wheel over and, like, sends them flipping off into this valley. And, you see the Nicolas Cage sort of pinned beneath the car. And then you see these two cops running towards them, and the cops get shot. And you kind of assume that it's Nicolas Cage. But then David walks around the car with the gun and admits that he is James Levine by saying, like, I didn't really mean to kill your daughter.
Yeah, I mean, like, the cat's pretty much out of the bag after he
pretty
killed
much,
the cops,
but
right?
I will say Joel Kinnaman spends the whole movie sort of just being, like, the scared straight guy, right? Reacting to everything, and he doesn't get to do a lot of interesting things, I think, until this.
Yes, because I loved, actually, what happens after he kills everyone, and the cops, like, there's backup coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, so, like, he kills the cops, and you're like, oh, shit, this is...
And he
was the devil.
He was the devil all along!
The whole time! He was the devil we're having sympathy for.
Got it. Well, and also, I think at the end you have sympathy for Nicolas Cage's character.
Absolutely.
Who is the devil that we're used to the whole movie, and then you find out at the end...
you know.
He was the devil we knew, and we didn't know James Levine at all. He's totally new, and he comes out with this real, like, dead look on his face, I think he did a good job of showing us the difference between David and James Levine.
Yeah, because he, like, shoots the cops after he does the car thing, and then he has this monologue where Nick Cage's character is, like, kind of, like, already dying after the car crash on the ground.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I didn't mean to kill your daughter, basically, and I felt guilty about that, and I've seen their faces every night until I met my wife, and I thought, like, my first... my daughter dying was, like, God coming after me for that. And, like, the whole thing.
Like, it was only fair because of what I did, kind of thing. And then he just, he
strangles him.
Yeah, he puts, like, something over his neck and, like, leans on it until he stops breathing, which is pretty rough. And then, you can hear the other sirens coming, and he's just sitting there.
And then he's like getting into character.
He's getting back into character. He's going, I'm David Chamberlain. I'm David Chamberlain. And he's
you
sort
can
of
see
like,
him like kind of getting like scared and like,
yeah, he starts like rocking and like the starts to look scared. And I was like, that was really good moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, I think, it's one of those problems, I think, too, with movies with twists, is that
it gave you a second to like see him get into the headspace that he needed to be into.
Yes. Yeah.
And I do feel like a lot of other movies that have that kind of a twist, you're like, they're just like automatically.
As an actor, I appreciated it, seeing him get back into his role.
Yeah.
If he'd just done a few vocal warm-ups, too, as he was...
I'm David Chamberlain!
Whether the weather be cold, whether the weather be hot.
Imagine.
Bzzz.
That would have been so much more unhinged.
That feels like something that Nicolas Cage would have done. If he played that character, he would have done like a whole... He would have shown us his acting routine before he started.
He's sewing like the voodoo doll into his jacket. And,
yes.
You know.
But I think this is a problem with a lot of movies with twists, is that you tend to have issues with pacing and story because you have to lead up to this twist. And you have to leave out stuff in order for it to work.
Yeah, I mean, like, David Chamberlain... It would be interesting to go back and rewatch to see if there's any breadcrumbs of this, but, you know, the whole time, he knew who this guy was.
Yes.
For sure.
I assume so. I don't know if he'd seen him before in person.
They at least talked on the phone.
They did talked on the phone.
I can't imagine that he went to his house without,
Sure, he probably would have seen... He probably knew what he looked like. You're right.
He probably knew what he looked
like.
So
he is an incredible actor.
Yeah. Which we do see.
We do see. But this leads me back to, you had the question about why did Nicolas Cage do the whole farce about his mom, right?
Right.
My question was, why wasn't David Chamberlain / James Levine able to overpower, like, Nicolas Cage's character? He's a hitman.
Well, he hasn't been for like 15 years.
Yeah, but I would think that he would be a little better at this. But he does have lung cancer, too. Oh, Nicolas Cage?
Yeah.
Yeah, and also he was a bookkeeper. He wasn't like... Yeah. An enforcer or something.
I mean, he had the gun the whole time.
I know, but I just feel like he would be better at that. I don't know. In retrospect, it's sort of like, he did try a bunch of ways to get it. Yeah. So the different strategies that he did to try and escape, I wrote them down. So he mouths help at the lady at the gas station. Right. Which doesn't really go anywhere. No. He speeds past a cop, so the cop will pull them over. Which ends up with... The cop just gets killed. The cop gets shot by Nicolas Cage for basically kind of being a dick.
Yeah. To be fair, that cop was a dick.
He was a dick. He didn't deserve to get shot 4 times in the head, but he was a dick. Yeah. He tries just jumping out of the car at one point, which was pretty good, except he did it on this stretch of like uninhabited. In a bad spot.
Yeah.
I was like,
you gotta do it where there's like close to the gas station.
Where you have somewhere to go.
Right.
And also something for the car to crash into. Right. It just sort of went off the side of the road because they're in the desert. Right. So, he did try a few things, and then he is able to, like, get away when he's handcuffed to the table by kicking the table down.
Yeah, that was the
So he was scrappy.
I don't... Yeah, and when he got away in the diner, I wanted him, like... I don't know what kept him so confined to that parking lot.
Yeah. Right. I never had a good sense of geography,
I know.
to be fair.
It's the desert. There's not a lot of stuff to hide behind in the desert.
Yeah.
You know, like, they don't really have...
Okay, again, if he is like a hitman, he should know how to hotwire a car. So why didn't he hotwire a car in the parking lot?
Right, like, just take one of those semis.
Yeah. Or like one of those cars that was sitting there. Jump in, hotwire it, go.
Yeah. I mean, he was shot already at that point.
Right.
So we did see him, like, tourniqueting his leg. Like, that's gonna take time.
Yeah, I guess. I just feel... And once the reveal... And also, like, I feel like he would carry a gun. If he's, like, a former hitman. He would have a gun somewhere or some sort of weapon. And I don't know. Maybe if we had a moment where he was just like, I swore off after that.
Well, he quit drinking.
I don't know. I just felt like he should have done something else. Knowing afterwards that he was like this guy that Nick Cage was so scared of, that when it was like James Levine is coming, that he was like, we have to get out of town.
Right.
That's what I was like. He wasn't just like a guy in the mob. He was supposed to be the scary boogeyman.
Right.
And so hearing that after this guy has sort of been like very hesitant the whole movie, is like, well, I don't know. What happened? What happened there?
Right. Yeah.
Here's another thing I'll say about Nicolas Cage's character. Obviously unhinged, and he kills a lot of people that he shouldn't kill. But he's not wrong about a lot of the things. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was like, that cop was a dick. And I was like, he was a dick.
That cop was a dick.
And then when he's at the diner and they're...
no substitutions?
No substitutions thing, where he was just like, what do you mean there's no substitutions? And he's like...
He wanted cheddar cheese on the tuna melt instead of mozzarella cheese. And I'm like, cheddar cheese is better on a tuna melt.
Who puts mozzarella
cheese on a tuna melt?
On a tuna melt! Yeah, he was right about that.
So that cook definitely deserved to get murdered over the...
And that trucker that he ends up killing, but first he just sort of yells at him.
A slur, right?
Yeah, he was a homophobe.
Yeah.
So...
Sorry, B was doing like the backwards ears. I don't think that she likes us yelling about...
Yeah, she gets upset when I get too loud.
Upset.
Or when I laugh. Or when I sing.
She's an empath.
Well, since she doesn't like when I sing or laugh, I don't like that. that means when I'm too happy, she's also upset.
Like, why are you so happy?
Can you be quieter, mother? Yeah, the trucker was a homophobe.
Kind of deserved it.
And he didn't kill...
Not really, but they kind of did.
This just
I wasn't upset about it.
Brittany is for the murder of... bystanders.
In a movie, I'm not upset about it when those people get killed.
Yeah.
And then he, didn't kill the mom and the daughter. He has the rule about not killing mothers.
Yes.
We find out. And he didn't kill the waitress, even though she did admit that she was being a dick.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
okay.
I think he just wants so here's actually a lot of what his character kind of reminded me of, especially with, all of, this whole phony, he kept on talking about how phony.
Yes.
He reminds me of that guy from Sandman. The villain in Sandman that hates when people lie.
Oh, John D?
Yes.
Or D.
I can't remember his name, but you know exactly who I'm talking about.
I know exactly who you're talking about. That's the most
especially
chilling
the
part
that's set in a diner. God. Really gave me vibes of that guy.
Why'd you have to remind me about that?
I know.
Devastating.
But yeah, his character did a little bit.
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
because it started out with him just hating people lying.
Yes.
And you don't really know why.
Yeah. Right? And there's sort of a simplisticness to the way he views the world that is super problematic. And there's also sort of... I wouldn't say Nicolas Cage's character is simplistic, but there is sort of a, it's like he has no inhibitions anymore. Because he's dying and he's lost everything he cared about. So he doesn't like someone, he kills them.
The things that he, takes issue with, with the cop, being isn't that a thing when he's talking about flow of traffic?
Pulling you over for going 11 miles over is stupid. And then when he was just why are you pulling us? He was asking questions.
But, the flow of traffic, isn't that a thing? And the cop, just wouldn't answer
and
him.
Was just get out of the car. And it's he is not great, but he's also just, asking you questions, you know? Yeah, it's interesting.
The sort of, black and white way that he's,
yeah.
It did just kind of, it reminded me of that.
Yeah.
It's not the same, but
it's not the same, but there is something there. I think you're right. That is similar. I gotta say, okay, the waitress, I can't decide whether it was the actress was not good or the dialogue was just really bad for her.
I kind of liked the waitress.
I didn't. When she was doing the, witching hour line, or when she's talking about, I don't know if it's early or late, that felt really unnatural.
Haven't you ever had a really weird waitress, though?
Oh, I have. I have. But her delivery felt, very, stage play-esque dialogue.
I think, yeah, I don't know. There are aspects of her dialogue that feels like she could have been cast older, but then I think that part of her also, I read the cheese line, passing you the block of cheese under the table line as flirty.
Me too. Well, when he was like, were you being nice or a dick? I was like, honestly, I thought you was just joking around, and I wouldn't say you necessarily have to be she's not necessarily being a dick. Like, I say that stuff to people all the time when I work retail.
Right.
And I was just sort of joking with them. Like,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I feel like part of the reason he didn't kill her is because she was hot.
That's true. That's true. You can't deny that she's got
he also doesn't kill
privilege.
He doesn't kill any women in the movie.
Yeah, I don't think he would have killed her anyway unless she actually did.
I think
try to stop him, or
I think he might have if she lied to him.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I can see that. Well, to me, it felt like he actually was uncertain about whether she's being a dick or nice.
When I saw that part of the movie, I was like, "There's no right answer to this question."
Yes. Yeah. Maybe there was no wrong answer. Maybe he would have been let her go either way.
He definitely has a soft spot for the ladies.
We haven't talked about...
We haven't talked about him talking about how he wanted to be 100% sex tonight.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of, he was 100% sex when he danced to that song.
Oh my god.
The Nightlife, what was it?
Yeah, I love The Nightlife.
I love The Nightlife.
I can't remember who it's by, but I love that song. It was on my mom's disco hits of the 70s CD.
Singing and dancing to it in this diner. And it was incredible.
It was a real, like, Willy's Wonderland moment.
Sort of disco move that he was doing with his arm.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I gotta work that into the rotation. I gotta start using that move.
I loved him thrusting at the trucker.
Yes. Yes, I love that he was like, this guy's a homophobe. I am gonna fuck with him. And then later on he's like, I'm just gonna kill him.
Yeah.
But during that song, very funny.
Yeah.
It was great. I loved that part. It was a really good soundtrack.
It was. It was a cool soundtrack.
There was a lot of good songs, unusual songs in this.
It was a lot of, like, I don't think I noticed any, like, a lot of the songs in it felt very, like, Tom Waits or Nick Cave and the Black Seeds, like, kind of stuff, where it's, like, a little bluesy, a little...
it's like a CD rock.
CD
songs.
Yeah.
That was the vibe.
CD bluesy rock music.
Yes. Yeah, but a lot of it was sort of, I don't know that many bands, but I felt like more indie stuff that I didn't know.
Yeah. I liked it. I might check it out later. Yeah.
This is the second Nick Cage movie we've done, named after a song that doesn't have that song in the movie.
What was the other one?
Season of the Witch.
Oh, yeah. I blocked out Season of the Witch.
As you should.
Yeah, that one didn't have Season of the Witch in
surprisingly, that medieval movie didn't have Season of the Witch in it.
Weird.
I was hoping there would be an instrumental version or something.
Played on, like, a lute.
Yes. Honestly, that sounds dope. A lute cover of Season of the Witch.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't get Sympathy for the Devil in this, which is fine.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I liked the,
yeah. You liked the soundtrack,
I liked the soundtrack.
Yeah.
I was gonna say again that I liked the, I like dumb stuff like the, we were making jokes about it immediately after the movie, but I liked that the main dude was the bad guy the whole time.
Yes. The movie ended and I said the real devils were the friends we made along the way. Yeah, I liked it because the movie started and Nicolas Cage kept making all these like hell and demon sort of references.
Yeah.
And
he looks like a devil.
He does look like a devil. And at first I thought the title was just supposed to be edgy.
Right.
I was like, okay, sure. But I liked at the end that it was sort of like,
well, and he talked a lot about, like, you're playing, like, the sympathy card with your family, you know?
Yes,
like, there was a lot of laying that on.
Yeah. But I felt like by the end, it could apply to either one, and I liked that. I thought that was a fun little twist.
Yeah, I do. I do actually like the title of it.
Yeah. In retrospect, title is much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I, 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 Do you feel like he went from 100% sex to 50% sex?
Honestly?
Or do you think the percentage was less or more?
Ooh, this is tough, because I do think that the broken nose sort of added to the aesthetic.
I do, too.
I think that helped. So I don't know that he went...
Scars are cool, you know?
Scars are cool, and it was sort of an aesthetic wound that sort of bled down either side, so it looked kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so, but my question is, why did he want to be 100% sex?
He was planning on fucking him after he killed him.
There it is. He was like, if he had admitted it earlier.
He definitely got dressed up to kill that guy.
He did.
I don't think he wears that all the time.
No. Do you think that he's like that, or did he put that persona on specifically for this night? Like, does he just go through life like that?
I mean, I think it's possible that he's been driven crazy by the death of his wife and daughter.
I do think the other line that I really liked, even though it was in the trailer, was, are you ghosting me? And then he's like, what are you, my psychiatrist, Dr. Ross?
Yeah, the specific name really made that.
That was a good joke. But I was like, oh, yeah, I sure wish your psychiatrist hadn't ghosted you. I think you could use that. Yeah, that's a bad thing
for a psychiatrist.
Though to be
fair... That's a bad psychiatrist.
Though to be fair, I'd probably ghost him too if I was a psychiatrist. I don't think he would take, like, we should see other people very well. So, what was with the card when he got into the car? And he said, pick a card. And
then it's in there, in the end of the movie, they kind of bring it back.
They do. The Ace of Spades.
I don't know. I do remember thinking I would not choose spades in this situation.
Yeah.
Because I kind of, like, in my mind immediately was like, they all probably have a specific meaning, right? And spades, I'm like, gonna bury the body?
Right. I was like, 7 of diamonds!
You gotta go hearts or diamonds. Did you pick a card in your head?
I did.
Me too.
And what was yours?
8 of hearts.
Nice! We both were like, medium, like middle ground.
Yeah.
Numbers. Inoffensive suit. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not spades, and definitely not,
ace, or any face card.
Clubs. Definitely not clubs.
No, you don't want to say clubs.
No.
Mm-mm. That seems dangerous.
Yeah.
But he did say spades, and I was like, maybe he planted that before. You know what I mean? Because he's like, you know, like a spade or whatever.
Yeah.
And he said spades, and so, I don't know. I didn't understand what the Ace of Spades... I was waiting for that to come back.
It didn't.
It didn't. It's just like a weird thing.
It did. Like, he found the card again.
Yeah.
That was the only card he had.
So he knew he was going to say Ace of Spades.
Yeah.
So it felt like it should come back something with James Levine.
But it didn't.
It was just like Nicolas Cage.
Maybe it did for them, and they just didn't tell us about it.
They cut it, and they cut that scene.
They cut that scene. Yeah.
They're like, oh, we'll leave that first part in, though.
Yeah.
It'll just make them mysterious.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, I don't think it really came
I also loved when he first got in the car, did the Ace of Spades stuff, and pulled the gun on him, and he was like, I need to go in there. I'm having a family emergency. My wife is giving birth. And
I said the line before
yeah,
you said the line.
I'm your family emergency now.
Yeah.
That was good.
No, he said, I have a family emergency, and I was like, I think you got a new family emergency.
Is there anything that what would your plan have been to get out of that?
I think that depends a lot on whether I know the guy or not. Because he did know the guy.
He did know the guy, so he knew what danger he was in.
Yeah.
And he knew that he was unstable.
He knew the whole time what this guy's deal was, and we just didn't know about it.
Which, again, makes me wonder why he, like, tried to get that woman at the gas station to help him, because it's like, he's gonna kill that woman. Like, that woman can't help you. The cop made a little more sense, but even that...
Well, that's a part of why, too. He was the bookkeeper, as you pointed out before.
Yeah.
I think he's gone crazy.
Yeah.
In the time that has passed.
Yeah.
Which has been many years, because he had enough time to, like, meet his wife and have...
It's been at least 10 years, I would say, because their son is probably like 7?
Maybe 15 years, because he has that part of, like, when did you quit drinking? He's like, would you say about 15 years? And he said, yeah.
Oh, so 15 years is a long time.
Yeah.
Joel Kinnaman would have been like 30. That's a young ass... It's younger than that. He probably was in his 20s.
Yeah, I mean, he's still young enough to be... I mean, like, not that men really have to worry about this, but, like, he's having young kids and stuff. Yeah. His wife is young.
Yeah.
Yeah, how old is Joel Kinnaman?
I'm guessing around 40.
His birthday's in 1979.
Okay, so that makes him 44.
Yeah, so, 15 years ago, he would have been 30.
Yeah.
30-ish.
Young assassin.
Yeah.
Young guy to be drinking a whole bottle of, what was it?
Glenlivet.
Every night.
Yeah.
That's an expensive alcohol habit.
Well, it works for the mob, you know.
Yeah, got to spend that money on something.
He's the fixer for the mob.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think my plan... Do you have a plan?
I think
I probably would have tried a lot of similar things to what he tried.
He does try some smart stuff. I think I would do the jumping out of the car, but I would have done it somewhere with more people. Or at least more buildings or something. I don't know. The only other thing I said, was once he gets to the parking lot in the diner, I just felt like he should have tried to, like, get in one of the cars and go or something, you know, instead of just limping around behind the semis.
Yeah, I mean, if I have only the skills that I have now,
yeah,
I probably don't try a lot. I probably just do what he says, you know?
Yeah.
And hope for the best.
But then we wouldn't be there because we didn't kill his family.
Right.
So I guess we don't have to worry about it.
Unless we really were mistaken for somebody that killed his family.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what we think for a lot of the movie.
Or, he didn't have his phone on him because he took his phone.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, right. The only other thing I would say is, like, keeping some sort of weapon in your car. Even if it's just, like, a hammer.
I don't have weapons in my car that would be within reach of the driver.
Well, that's your mistake.
Do you?
Yes.
For a long time, I had some pepper spray that would have been actually in a really good spot because I had this little compartment that was on the left side of the wheel. So if somebody was sitting behind me in that spot, I don't think they'd be able to see me get it. Yeah. But I don't have that anymore. I have a different car. I don't have that little compartment anymore.
Well, somewhere in my car, there was a baton, so...
Somewhere.
I won't tell you in case my stalker's listening to this.
Yeah, and, like, my trunk, I've got, like, tools and stuff.
Yeah. I heard the story when I was, like, a teenager about this guy that, like, abducted a teenage girl, and she was in the passenger seat, and she pulled a hammer out from under the seat and bashed him with it and got away. And I was like, smart. So that's why I keep a weapon in my car. Yeah.
What rating would you give this movie?
Like, what Rotten Tomatoes score do I think it has, or...
Let's do both. What rating would you give it, and what rating do you think Rotten Tomatoes has given it?
I think that I would give this movie, like, a 7.5 out of 10.
That's around what I was actually thinking, too.
Yeah, because I think that it's...
There's a lot wrong with it, but I would 100% watch this again.
Yes. It's a good movie, but I think that, again, the pacing and sort of, like, they're relying so much on the reveal at the end to sort of, like, make you go back and look at the movie and be like, wow, that was good. Yeah. That I think that there are some issues with the storytelling. But overall, I think everyone did a good job. It's really interesting to watch, and so I would give it a 7.5. I'm guessing... I'm going to say that on Rotten Tomatoes it has like a 70%?
It's lower than that. Oh. It's, so the critic score, this is one that the critic score is lower than the audience score. Oh. The critic score is 58%. What? And it's pretty mixed. Like, if I scroll down to the reviews, people either love this movie or they hate this movie. And the audience score is 64%.
I'm surprised by how low
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
One of the blurbs for one of the critics' reviews is, it's only for Cage apologists who think everything he does is a work of genius. And my question for you is, are we Cage apologists who think everything he does is a work of genius?
Well...
Probably.
Maybe a little bit, but I think we've given some pretty negative reviews about some of his movies, though.
I don't think everything he does is a work of genius.
Everything he does is good. For sure. We have a lot that we did not like. This is one that I think probably if you are inclined to like him, you'll definitely like this.
Yeah, if you like Nicolas Cage, this is a movie for you.
Yeah.
There's another review here that is a bad review that says Sympathy for the Devil runs out of gas and fails to capitalize on another burning bright performance from Mr. Nicolas Cage. Yeah. Which, that's pretty fair.
Like I said, I think because of like the pacing issues that he carries much of this movie, and if it wasn't him bouncing off the walls, that it would be kind of boring.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it had fun performances. I thought it had fun performance.
And I
thought Joel McKinnon played the part exactly the way that it needed to be played.
Yes, he did.
McKinnaman.
Yeah.
Wait, Kinnaman. I keep adding a Mick on the front of it. You
keep calling him McKinnon.
Yeah.
And that is not a man.
I thought he played it exactly the way it needed to be played, because you kind of need that guy to be sort of normal, right?
Mm-hmm. It's sort of the issue, though, with having a two-person movie like this, where you are, like, stuck in a car or anywhere. You have people stuck. It's sort of the issue with, like, stage plays, too, is when you have a couple people stuck in one place, it can get sort of boring, and you have to, like... And in this one especially, you've got, like, the one guy who's sort of crazy and the other guy's reacting to him. And that's tough to do for, like, 90 minutes. I think mostly they did well, but it's just sort of one of the problems with this kind of genre. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Most of it, I felt like suspensed. It suspensed well. Yeah. It suspended you. Yeah, I was suspended. Most of it I felt pretty suspensed. Yeah. That's the suspense on I twas suspensed. Yeah. But yeah. Anyways, that's Sympathy for the Devil. That's Sympathy for the Devil. Go watch it. I am sympathetic. They got me. What time is it? It's time for oh no. It's time for Inside the Cage. Oh. I was gonna try to do an Australian accent. I know, I was hoping you'd do it. And then I was like, I'm gonna fuck this up. I was like sitting over here going, do it. I don't know what it is about accents, but I have such, like, every time we do Inside the Cage, I do something insane. Yeah. Like, when I do it. Yeah. You've done. And this time I said... For some reason, the bad accent thing, I was like, people can't know I can't do an accent. You're like, that's too far. I have debased myself in myriad ways, but God forbid I do a bad Australian accent. No, well, earlier, so we were playing with Australian accents earlier, because that's what our Inside the Cage is going to be, Australian a little bit, and we listened to a couple, and I was like, all right, I kind of got this. And now it's been like an hour since I heard an Australian It's gone. It's gone. I don't know what they sound like anymore. Yeah, I cannot do one. I will say, I cannot do an Australian accent. It just ends up being Cockney if I try it. You did a pretty good one. It was okay. It was okay. It was recognizable as Australian. Yeah. Was it like Inside the Cage? That's good. Right. I like that. Quick, go back and just cut all that out. All right, it's time for Inside the Cage. Great. So this week on Inside the Cage, we found this story on a surfing website called Beach Grit, by the way. I need everyone to know that. Beach Grit. This is important for when I want to put this into the notes on the episode later. Yes, and there is a subtitle for the website that I cannot read because of this this script that they use. I think it says ultra hard surf candy, but that doesn't really make sense.
Have you seen the Dropout like game show that they do, where there's one episode where Jacob something, the prompt is that he has to do he has to tell a story as a surfer that is, like, you won't understand what he's saying because there's so much surfer lingo in it.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that one.
That one's really good.
Okay, I do like Dropout, but I haven't seen that one. So this one is about...
But it makes me wonder if candy is...
Maybe!
It's ridiculous.
So this is about Western Australia is rejoicing because there's a casting call for this next Nicolas Cage movie. I shouldn't say next because it hasn't started filming or anything.
No, it might not ever come out.
It might not ever happen, but I just
but
need you guys to know about it.
You need to know what the actual casting call is seeking.
Yes. So it is calling for BMX riding, beer delivering trouble causers.
For Nicolas Cage's new movie,
The Surfer. So this is
Gran Torino, but about a surfer.
Yes, it is. Or I don't know. I feel like What was that one with Arnold Schwarzenegger where he played like a sheriff or something? Walking Tall.
Kindergarten Cop.
You got me. That's the one. So the casting call on the summary of this film is in The Surfer, when a man returns to his beachside hometown in Australia, many years since building a life for himself in the U.S., he is humiliated in front of his teenage son by a local gang of surfers who claim strict ownership over the secluded beach of his childhood. Wounded, the surfer decides to remain at the beach, declaring war against those in control of the bay. But as the conflict escalates, the stakes spin wildly out of control, taking the surfer to the edge of his sanity.
So here's what this movie probably means. If it comes out.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage is playing an Australian.
I think they'll be like, they gotta put in a line in there somewhere where someone's like, you've been in America so long you've lost your accent. Right? Arr, That's my best attempt at an Australian accent. So they're looking for teenagers. And they're looking for kids who are confident with a bit of attitude. And I am loving this. This is bananas.
We're teenagers with a bit of attitude, right?
It says, some of these boys who put their hand up are not necessarily drama kids. It's really awesome to see the different range of ages and guys that are interested in doing it. And then the article itself, that was a quote. The article itself says, toughs and skids, man. Theater nerds need not apply. What?
Toughs and skids. Definitely lingo that the kids are using.
Absolutely. So you can go on to Beach Grit and read it for yourself. I hope this works out.
I do too.
I hope this is a movie that happens because it sounds bananas.
We're going to have to go and see this other new movie.
It's going to be like a 60-year-old man killing like 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
For bullying him.
Yeah. That's what I wish Gran Torino was.
Yeah. That's what people who watch Gran Torino wish it was.
Do you think Nicolas Cage will probably just look exactly the same as he looks in The Retirement Plan, the movie that's coming out soon?
That's an interesting question. He kind of looks
like a surfer in that.
We did talk about how he tends to do similar movies back to back.
That's true, he does.
Yeah, so The Retirement Plan he filmed very recently because we were looking at pictures of it less than a year ago.
Yeah, in fact, in my spreadsheet, it is listed as a 2022 movie because it was already, like, maybe ready to come out last year when we started this podcast.
Yeah.
And it's just taken this long for it to, like, actually get out.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think that knowing him, he will try to find a different look.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll do the same thing, but I don't know. Maybe...
I mean, he looks very different in that new A24 movie where he's playing, like, the professor guy.
Yeah. Excited about that.
Actually, He does kind of look the way he looks in the retirement plan for the college professor one. He's just got shorter hair.
Mm-hmm. He's that's the one we looked at.
But he's got like the beard.
He's got the beard. Like he's got a full face. Yeah. And he looks a little bit. He looks older in both of those roles.
He looked gaunt in this movie.
He was so thin in this movie.
Yeah.
And he looked much younger than he does in the retirement plan trailer.
Yes.
Which is bananas because he must have filmed them very close.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they did that.
He's an actor.
Actor. What are we doing next?
You know what? I'm not really sure. We'll get back to you.
We're gonna announce it on the social meds.
It might be something big.
On the social meds.
We'll get to you on the social meds. Speaking of, if you're not following us on the social meds, we're on Facebook and Instagram.
What are you doing, guys? You gotta get on them socials.
Also, tell me if we should be on Threads.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really want to be.
I don't want to be on Threads.
But maybe we should be.
Maybe we should be.
At the very least, it's already connected to the other platforms that we are on.
It's true. So we're already connected, so that's not... Anyway, we might be on Threads. Who knows?
I'm not making us an X account.
No. Don't. I'm so mad about X.
Alright.
I finally deleted Twitter because I got so mad when I saw
the X logo.
And then it just had the letter X under it, and I said no. It finally got me off to delete it. That was tough. Anyway.
Alright.
We'll catch you guys soon.
Bye, stay cagey.
Keep it cagey.
Yeah.